Well, I'm Joe Ferguson. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Salem, Virginia, whose number happens to be 5772. Few people know their club numbers, but I do. And of course, we're District 7570. I was a district governor in arguably the first year of the new millennium, 2001. However, Abe Clymer, who was the governor before me, declared that he was the first governor of the new millennium because he was 9900. We never did quite settle that argument, but I still claim I was. I got asked to be a part of a Rotary Club of Salem in 1983 by a banker friend named Bill. And Bill just said to me one day casually in the bank, "Joe, there's a group I belong to that hold the keys to this community, and if you're interested in being an agent for change, we hold the keys to it." And he invited me to lunch. And I met a number of people that I knew because Salem's a small town where everybody kind of knows everybody else. A couple of meetings later, Bill said to me, "How would you like to be a part of this group?" And it kind of came as a shock. I wasn't really expecting it. I was just having a good time at lunch, and it was a free lunch. But I did join, and I was inducted into Rotary in 1983, in January of '83. And Bill put this first Rotary pin on my lapel and died within about a year, and I don't think I ever told Bill how much I appreciated what he did. So I really was negligent. He doesn't know what a favor he did to me, and I have never regretted. 83 was the beginning, and I was a member like everybody else of my club, but I don't think I became a Rotarian until sometime later. I served as in a number of offices in my club and became club president in 97, I think, 97. Got asked to lead a group study exchange. That came out of the blue because the woman who was president of my club had been contacted by Fred Harmon, who was a member of the Tazewell Rotary Club, who was at the time the person in charge of the group study exchanges. And they were looking for applicants, and I said, "Sounds good to me," or one of the opportunities. And there were two. One was Thailand, and one was Japan. And so I applied, blindly applied. And the other candidate and I turned out to be the only two candidates, and the committee deemed that we were both good candidates, and I was offered the opportunity to lead the team to Japan. It was for a part of Japan that I never even heard of, called Hokkaido. Hokkaido, Japan, which is the northernmost island that nobody's heard of. It's not Tokyo, it's not Nagasaki, it's not Hiroshima, it's not Osaka, it's not any of those things. It's the northern island of Hokkaido where the city of Sapporo is. And Sapporo became famous back in the 80s because the Winter Olympics have been held there. And it put Sapporo on the map, and I led a team of young business professionals on a 6-week trip to Japan, and I became a Rotarian. Sometime during that trip, it struck me the true internationality of Rotary was in the minds and the hearts of those Japanese Rotarians who said the same 4-way test, who pledged to the object of Rotary, who sang Rotary songs, just like my club sang Rotary songs. And I met Japanese Rotarians that then and there I said, I had made a right choice back in 1983. And I became a Rotarian during that trip. And I've kept friendships with many of those Japanese Rotarians over the years. Became governor a couple of years later. Our president's representative that year was Pichai Radikul, who was the president-elect of Rotary International, who had been the prime minister of Thailand and had retired, still remained politically active in Thailand, but had moved up to the ranks of Rotary and came here as the president's rep. And a delightful man, a most humble man who greeted you with the polite greeting of clasped hands over the heart, and remained friends with him. He's still part of Rotary. He's not quite active like he was once. But about a year later, he asked me to be his representative in Cape Town, South Africa. And I went for Rotary on that trip to Cape Town. It was to include Nairobi at the time because it's so far from here there. He said, well, go on and drop into Nairobi and then go on to Cape Town. Well, there was civil unrest at the time, much like it is now, in Nigeria, and that part of the trip got canceled. So I ended up deadheading to Cape Town and coming home from Cape Town. For those who may not have made those longer trips, that's like 15 hours in the air from London to get to Cape Town. But it was a great experience. And I went back to Cape Town because it was so much fun. I've been back twice. Went to Frank Devlin's presidential conference, and then went back on a vacation and took Marianne the last time. It was a great experience meeting Pishai Radical here. And I remember that on the Thursday night of our opening district conference right here at the Homestead, we had an event up on the mountaintop where the ski slope is for all first attendees and for all persons who were in the hotel on Thursday night, and had a cookout up there in the ski lodge. At which point I met Pishai Radical for the first time, and I remember him sitting across the table from me saying, "Now, Joe, what do you intend to do this year in Rotary?" And it was like, gee, I never really thought too much about it. But he was kind of a man, because of who he was, that kind of demanded an answer. Yes. The year that I was governor, I decided, because of the experience in Japan and also the internationality of Rotary was so important to me, that we were going to do a lot more grants and match clubs to other countries. We had not done too much of it that year. That year, I invited to the district conference a number of international Rotarians to come with project applications in search of a partner. And so we had a project fair that year at this district conference. And in one of the rooms downstairs near the dining room, there's another library, much like the one across the hall here. And we set up all those international people at tables and had a fair. And we signed 100 grants that year at the district conference. And it was the beginning of something that we have continued. So I'm so very pleased that it started that year.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. That was
Great
so
information.
good.
Did I get what you want?